Welcome to the studio, guys. This has been a long time coming. It's taken me forever to catalog everything in the studio and actually get this prepped and ready to go, and then actually record all the B-roll and different shots in the studio and all these different things has really given me a much higher appreciation for vloggers and content creators who do go the extra mile to have all these different angles and all these different ways that they make their videos. I really see that now that I'm trying to do some more stuff for my videos. I'm really seeing how much more effort it takes, especially with script writing and all that other stuff. So huge shout out to all those creators that do that. Amazing work and effort that really goes into all this stuff. And yeah, so what I'm going to be doing though is I'm going to be going through all the different stuff from audio, software, just random things in the background, camera, lighting, everything. I'm going to walk you through what I bought. I will leave all the links in the description below. I feel like because this was like 5+ pages of cataloging, this isn't all going to fit in the description. So I'll probably also have a blog linked below with a lot of that stuff in there if it doesn't fit, which it probably won't. So again, this also isn't a tacit endorsement of Amazon. I do order a lot of things on Amazon, and it's easy to find everything and just like list it all out. So, obviously you can still buy it from wherever you want. I'm just going to put the Canadian links because that's where I got it. You can obviously still find almost all the stuff still on Amazon in other places of the world. And yeah, so let's get into it. But before we do, a quick word from my sponsor.
A big thank you and shout out to my sponsor, Cake Wallet, which is an open source, non-custodial Bitcoin and Monero wallet that also has a built-in exchange. It's available on iOS and Android.
Thanks again to my sponsor. So I think the best way to start off is to talk about my audio, and I will do that in a different scene that will also kind of show you a view of this side of things, of what I actually see on the flip side. So we'll take a quick look at that first, and then I will dive into everything else. So this is the behind the scenes look at the studio. It's definitely a very different perspective than what you guys are used to, but this is it. So, on the sides, we've got my speaker monitors, very, serious, legit studio quality monitors. They're technically called speaker monitors or studio monitors. We don't actually call them speakers. And these are HS8s from Yamaha. These are pretty heavy duty. I think they were like $400 or $350 each. And then the stands were $50 to $80. And then I've also got acoustic foam just underneath them to lessen the vibrations caused from the bass. Acoustic foam is important, more so for recording, I guess I would say, than or not being loud to your neighbors, which is why I have that. I mean, obviously the foam under the speakers themselves isn't super important, but that's why I've also got bass traps around the room, etc. as well. I'll talk a little bit more about the acoustic foam later. Since there isn't a ton of things that are very easy to see, I'll cover most of the other stuff elsewhere. But the microphone, I've got the Audio-Technica AT2020. Realistically, at the end of the day, most XLR microphones are going to do exactly what you need them to do, but it's important to consider that USB microphones are going to be way less quality than these XLR microphones. And I mean, the obvious way to tell the difference is if you can just plug it directly into your computer, it is not an XLR microphone. You need a special audio interface to accept that that wire, or that connection rather, because this is not a normal wire. I don't know of any computers that have an XLR input or output. And you would plug that directly into your audio interface, which would then plug into your computer. I've recommended the Scarlett Solo because it's one of the very cheapest starter ones. You don't need anything special whatsoever for your audio interface. You just need something that works. Personally, I have the Steinberg UR44, which you'll see in a little bit, or I'll give a close up. And the only reason I did that is because I used to be very, very intense with my music. I still do make music, but that allows me to have two people plugged in with their headphones listening, and I could have two people recording at the same time. With the Scarlett Solo, it's more or less just for one person. That's all you really need. It's like $100 or something like that. It's all pretty affordable. And like a Yeti, for example, like a Blue Yeti microphone, which is what I used to use, is still going to run you like $200 to $300. It's almost going to cost you the same to just get the way better microphone, XLR setup and everything. The only major difference is you might have to spend a little bit extra money on like the cables and you know, a few other things, but for the most part, it's going to be infinitely better. And you'll probably end up upgrading anyways if you're really serious about it. And if you're going to drop $300 or something like that, you might as well just pay, you know, $400 to get the full upgrade, be future proof, and not have to worry about that in the future. For pop sounds like I have this pop screen here. Some people prefer to use pop screens like these, which I also sometimes double up with when I'm recording, but it's kind of obtrusive or intrusive to the shot, so I don't like to usually use that. The shockwave mount, though, is very, very important if you're using something like this, or if you have something directly connected to your desk, because then you bump your desk and it shakes. The shockwave mount is meant to essentially avoid any vibrations. They've got all these like bungee cords and stuff, and it just keeps your microphone from vibrating so that it doesn't actually pick up the audio of the vibration. So if you do move things around, it's not causing any audio issues, essentially. And then this is just a very basic generic stand, super cheap. I just, you know, got that, threw that in. And then I guess lastly for audio is my headphones. You just need a decent quality pair of headphones. If you are doing something a little more serious, like music wise, it might be important to you to either have like open ear, closed ear, a lot of different things like that. These, which I believe off the top of my head are the Audio-Technica M50Xs, but I mean, it'll be in the description. Everything will be in the description. And these have served me ever since I basically started doing music about 6 or 7 years ago. And then I got the slightly worse version of these, I think the M30s, as a secondary pair of headphones for when I have other people in the studio recording or, you know, doing anything where two people would need to listen at the same time. So, you know, these kind of just serve all purposes, since they're not open or like you can either go with open, and that only really serves you for like recording, or closed for when you're actually listening and doing monitoring. It's easier to just go with closed because then you have both covered, but maybe not as ideal for recording. For podcasting, etc., though, it's not really important. The only time you even really need headphones is when you're doing an interview. Otherwise, there's really no reason to be wearing headphones. And another thing, for people who do interviews, please wear headphones when you do it, because, you know, feedback picks up when you've just got it coming out of your speakers and stuff like that. Or if you're speaking into a microphone that's just on your laptop, and you're far away, it's got like the reverb and the echo and everything. Always, if you can, have some kind of microphone, even if it's just like an iPhone earbuds, like, or whatever, and you're talking to the small microphone. Or you're, again, even for headphones, you could just be wearing some very, very cheap earbuds, and it's way better quality than allowing it to just bleed through and come through on your speakers. So that pretty much covers everything for audio, aside from you know, the acoustic treatment that I've done for the room, which is pretty basic. I mean, I'm not like an expert or anything. I've just put a bunch of soundproofing around the room, and I've also added bass traps. And then I have acoustic foam underneath my speaker monitors so that there's no vibration when I'm playing that, so my neighbors don't get upset. And that's also partly why I have the bass traps as well. But the generic acoustic foam that you see like right there is just for dampening sound for, again, for people outside of this room and any sound coming in. I go the extra mile though, because I really do not want to have anything intruding in my sound space, so to speak. So, you know, I've got like I've insulated the balcony door extra. I've insulated my door. I've got a draft sweep or whatever it's called, where it like blocks the bottom of the door from having any sound. And then I have a soundproof blanket that I put over the door. So I go the extra mile on a lot of these things. Or like, from blocking light, I always put up like a bunch of tarps now over my balcony door just to block the light, to ensure I'm getting the absolute best lighting for my shots and consistent. And it's always the same. But aside from all that, that covers audio. And now I want to talk about camera stuff. So while it's not easy for me to actually show you the camera because, it's obviously recording this, maybe I'll get a shot or something of me just like in a mirror, maybe is the best way to do it. Just showing you generally what it looks like. But it's a fantastic camera. It's the Sony ZV-1 and it has been amazing since I got it. I'm still learning how to use it and everything. I only just recently got, backup batteries, a case, I guess like a traveling case, and then an actual like slip-on cover case to protect the camera itself. And then I also have a video capture card so that everything coming from the camera goes to the capture card and then to my computer, and then can be ran through OBS very easily. You can use the USB streaming mode, but I found it to be way worse and just not really worth using in my opinion. So it's much better to actually have the battery good to go and then just stream directly into the video card and completely negate any use of the USB side of things. And with that, I also have an SD card and all that other stuff that you need for a camera, all the generic stuff. This camera is just a, compact digital camera that is, it's a pretty solid camera. It's marketed towards people like myself, like a vlogger type of person. It doesn't have like a flash or anything like that. So it's not like a full-on DSLR or DLSR, one of the two. It's not a full-on camera. It's just a compact digital camera, but it does exactly what it needs to do. So that's fantastic. Previously, I was just using a webcam, the 4K Logitech Brio, which is this little guy right here. There you go. I still use it now just to allow people that I Skype with to see me when I'm doing this, because you can't have this on Skype while you're recording as well. So, it doesn't hurt to have, but the switch from an actual webcam to a camera is very, very noticeable. And the biggest noticeable difference, I would say, is how it works with the lighting. I would say it's probably the most notable difference, but I highly recommend getting a camera. But it's not, there's no reason why you shouldn't start with a webcam. I made a lot of money and I did very well using a webcam for the past, 4 years or so. So again, there's no reason why you can't start simple and kind of build your way up. That is generally what I've done over the years. And I typically will just use the money that I earn from all this to then go back in and invest in the podcast / the channel itself. But maybe 5 to 10% of the funds. The rest usually is just invested. And I think that's a very important thing to do. You should always reinvest back to your podcast or whatever and continually look for ways to improve as you go. I'm always looking for ways to improve. So that generally covers everything for the camera. Most of the stuff that I've listed is just general stuff about the camera, accessories, charger packs, all that stuff. I've also got a tripod in the closet that I was using to shoot some of the shots before, but it's a very terrible tripod. So some of the B-roll might be like jaggedy because it's just a very, very cheap tripod. And you do get what you pay for, but you can make iterations as you go. In terms of lighting, I've got quite a bit of lights. I would say the most significant lights would be like this umbrella light that I have right here. And it's always, right in my face, which is always fun. But a lot of people use a circle light because it's the most effective way when it's around your camera. I might try and get something like that in the future, but I've had these photography lights for 6 or something years, when I thought it was important to have like a photography setup and I wanted to get like proper shots and stuff. And so I've always had this, so it's convenient for me to just kind of use it now for this. I did have to get a different bulb, and the bulb is actually super important. I did list the bulb that I got because you need to get the right Kelvin based on where you're filming and the time of day that you film. So if I did leave the windows open and I let all the natural light in, I could still film using a specific Kelvin. I believe it's the higher Kelvin that is for daytime and lower for nighttime. I'm not 100% sure. I made mistakes with the Kelvin and with the lights that I used for a long time. So I think the best tip is to just really research exactly what you need and ensure you got the right thing, because I wasted a lot of money buying the wrong stuff and sending it back and doing all this different stuff. And I recorded for easily years with the wrong type of lighting. So, once you figure that out, it does make a very, very big difference to the way that your show looks and just the visuals and everything like that. So, definitely keep that in mind. I believe the one that I'm using is 3000, but obviously it's in the description and you can check that out yourself. In terms of other lights, I've got just like a ton of different lights that I use as like just miscellaneous, like for decor and aesthetics. I've got this letter light here. I have a salt lamp light off to the side here that you can't really see, I guess. I've got one sort of like spotlight behind me faced up at the wall. That's what that light is coming up there. And it's definitely an improvement, and you want to have something like that because it just makes the background more distinguished from myself. And then I've also got a light up in the corner over here that you can't see. But I'll show you everything. I'll try to cut it all in as I'm saying this stuff. But I've got that, and it's faced at the back of my head so that the light hitting my head will, it's called a hair light. And generally it's just to make you more distinguished from the background and deal with any shadows that would otherwise be casted. And then otherwise I've just got like a bunch of various LED lights that you can obviously see in the background, the purple, the little Christmas lights. There I've got a little Tetris light, Publish OX light. On this side, of course it's off, never mind. Normally I have a PlayStation light turned on in the corner. Actually, I'll go turn it on right now and prove to you guys that everything in the background is real, because someone was like, oh, that's not a green screen. And I'm like, no, of course it's not a green screen. Everything in the background is real. I'm just not a big fan of green screens personally. So I actually went out and got all this stuff, and I listed most of it on Amazon as well. And I'll go turn that on right now and show you guys that this is a real background. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it in the corner there. So that's not bad. But yeah, that's a PlayStation light in the corner. So yeah, I mean, this is a real background. All the stuff is real. It's generally meant to just like represent different parts of my personality. And I'll get to the miscellaneous aesthetic stuff at the end. That generally covers everything for lighting though. I'm trying to think if I forgot something. I mean, obviously I have like regular lights in the ceiling. That's not really important though. In terms of desk accessories, I do have quite a bit of things on here. I wouldn't consider it all super important, but things like, there's a lot of simple things that just make my life easier. Like for example, like this phone holder where I just have my phone on my desk, and it just makes it way easier to have a video playing, or just if I get a message or whatever, and then just have it plugged in all the time. That's really handy. I mean, I've got some generic things. I don't know how granular you guys want me to be with this, so I'm just going to do everything. I've got my little coasters because, obviously you don't want to ruin the desk, which I have done over time. And then I just went and I bought a vinyl like replacement to put on top of this. So this was all like messed up before. and then I just put that over top, and you can't even really tell now. So that's fantastic. I've got, like my battery charger for my camera. A lot of little like basic things that are just useful to have. My mouse. I always forget what these things are called, but super useful for gamers or anyone who does work on their computer that is moving their mouse around a lot. And then the wire, falls off the back and you have to pull it, and like just creating a lot of resistance. This little elasticized thing, or whatever you want to call it, I guess it's like a mouse bungee something. It's just essentially so that your cable doesn't move around a lot, and it just makes your life a lot easier, and it's super inexpensive. 100% worth it. And then I've just got, a generic little USB fan for keeping myself cool. For some reason, just having all these lights on, well, I mean, not for some reason, just because of science, but having all these lights on makes the room really hot. So I don't know if you guys know, but almost every time I'm filming, I'm like sweating by the time I'm done, which is always like unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And I'm like staring into this big light the entire time, but that's how most YouTubers go, and that's how it is. I've got my monitor stand that I just use for my sound interface, which I've already talked about. I've got my monitor stand that holds all the monitors together. I actually drilled a giant hole in the back of the desk because it wouldn't have fit properly. And yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't change your desk as needed and drill holes and do things for cable management, etc., which is the next category. I mean, really, my cable management stuff is just like, you should have cable ties, have little things that can hold cables in place. I've got little like things that I stick to my desk that can manage cables, and then I have a ton of octo ports or whatever that have like 8 ports that you plug in. This place is honestly overrun with wires, and anyone who's like big on cable clean desks and stuff would be devastated to see what the back side of this looks like. I mean, the desk looks fine, but underneath is just disgusting. There's so many cables. I've got about, I want to say 25 plus smart plugs that all turn on and off based on my voice or my phone, so that when I start all these lights, it's just very easy. I just say a couple words to my Google Home, or I click a couple buttons and everything comes on, rather than turning all this on individually would take forever. So having things that make your life easier is definitely worth doing. And things like cable management or smart devices, if that's going to make your life a lot easier, 100% worth investing in. A lot of the things that I spend my money on when it comes to the studio are things that are just going to make my life a little bit better, easier, faster to work with, or an aesthetic improvement for the viewer, like things in the background, etc. In terms of peripherals, I mentioned I've got my mouse, which is a fantastic Logitech G502 mouse. One of my favorite things about this mouse is that there's a bunch of different programmable keys on it. And while that's normally useful for gaming, I program copy, paste, redo, undo, a bunch of things like that make my life so much easier. Being able to work on Excel sheets or whatever, and being able to do all the commands just from my mouse is just amazing. Whether I'm eating or doing something on my phone, or I'm just, whatever, being able to do a bunch of the work that you have to do throughout the day with your mouse only is, it's one of the best productivity upgrades that I've made to this entire setup. And that sounds like hyperbolic, but it's made a huge difference to my regular day-to-day work. My ergonomic keyboard was very weird to get used to because it's nothing like a normal keyboard. I am considering getting a mechanical keyboard because I definitely do want something a little more robust, but this has been fantastic. And yeah, I have no complaints. And then beside my keyboard, I've got a little fingerprint reader so that when I'm entering passwords and stuff, I can just use biometric security instead of, retyping out my super long password. If you have a good password, it should be ridiculously long, to the point where when I'm typing it in, people are like, please don't screw up, because it takes so long to type in. So that's the peripherals on my desk. Oh, and then I've got my dock, which is just a very generic, like, no-name brand dock. It's just USB 3.0 dock, just for some of my extra stuff to plug in. But mostly I run everything directly from my computer for the best speed. Eventually in the future, I will go Thunderbolt 4, and I'll get a Thunderbolt 4 dock and all that good stuff. But for now, I'm just doing the basics. So, I'm not super concerned about, having like the most ridiculous connections and stuff. That's more for laptop users, I would say. This is really all you need. Unless you're starting to get into external storage and things like that, you might want something a little more robust. But that is what I'm using. In terms of the monitors I'm using, I don't actually know exactly what these models are, but they're all random mismatched LG monitors. Eventually, sometime in the near future, when I upgrade my graphics card, it will have the right ports for me to just go all out and get a better setup. Because right now, I'm using VGA, HDMI, DisplayPort. Ideally, it would just be DisplayPort to HDMI, and all the screens would be the exact same and the same size and the same color settings. I do admit, like, having them all different color settings and stuff is very jarring when I'm doing stuff. And it's just like a weird inconsistency between the monitors. But having 3 monitors is the most amazing thing ever. So highly, highly recommend. I know some people would say you're better off to just have a really good ultra wide monitor, but I like to have separate different things going on. So for example, even if you had an ultra wide monitor, you couldn't just have one game on the monitor and then also still have everything else in a very effective way. Because if I had a game on the monitor, I'd probably want it to be the whole monitor. And then again, like if I wanted to do Discord or whatever else, I couldn't do that. I also like just having a lot of different monitors because, on this monitor, I've got OBS running and I can see myself and I can see how this is actually turning out, make sure there's no issues. I've got my ridiculous document that I type up every time I make a video to refer to. And then sometimes I pull something up on the other screen. But having 3 monitors is one of the best decisions you can make. And you don't need a ridiculous graphics card to support it either. My graphics card is relatively outdated, but we'll get to all my computer specs near the very end. In terms of ergonomics, I've got a little footrest. I've got this on the back of my chair, which, nice day. This has been one of the best investments, adding this to the back of my chair. I guess the next thing to do would be just to buy a gaming chair or something that already has a good ergonomics for it. But I've had this like generic manager chair from Staples for quite some time. It is starting to peel, unfortunately. The leather is starting to peel off or whatever material. So I ordered a chair cover, and I'm hoping that kind of solves that issue so I can still be cheap. The desk is a dark brown walnut plywood corner desk from IKEA. I couldn't find the original because I bought it so long ago. But yeah, this is just super cheap, generic plywood. It's not fancy at all. It does the job. It looks decent enough. And as I mentioned earlier, easy to fix, maintain, replace with, vinyl covers, vinyl stickers on the top, etc. So, hey, not a bad idea. And then I also bought some wood repair, fix markers to kind of hide any little spots that were noticeable, because I'm all about maintaining things to save money rather than buying new stuff. It's not necessary. So in terms of decor, everything behind me has been pretty carefully selected to sort of show off my personality. Essentially, in the middle, it starts off with a kind of Buddha-inspired, Eastern-inspired kind of feel with like a little samurai sword, a little gong, a fountain, some vases with some I don't even know what you call those things. Artificial plants. And then going further out, I've got some, like video game stuff and some different pop culture things like Yoda, Baby Grogu, Pikachu, Wario, and then just like game consoles, old game consoles, because I don't really do a lot of console gaming or pretty much at all, aside from the occasional Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But if you like Ultimate, you're not a true Smasher, in my opinion, because me and the boys have been pretty serious about Smash, and I play Melee or Project Melee, which is a modded version of Smash. If you want to get really serious about it, I do play Ultimate, but a little begrudgingly, because I don't consider it the true Super Smash Bros. But that's just my take. If you're curious about which characters I main, you got to comment below to ask, and I will answer. But I did cover some of the characters that I showed in the background there. I got the clapper on this side for my love of movies and cinema. That's kind of like a tribute to that. On this side, you can't really see, but there's a certificate from library when I first got started. They sent out a bunch of these. That's a Brave pillow from Brave, because they've supported me and done a lot of amazing things to help me in my channel. And I don't know if you can sort of see with my Xbox 360, there's like a little Fallout bobblehead and Vault-Tec lunchbox. Fallout is probably one of the best game series of all time, barring aside their attempt at multiplayer. Bethesda does some really amazing things, like with the Elder Scrolls games and Fallout. If you're a gamer and you haven't played those games, I pity you. And I would love to see some sort of like Fallout TV show or something like that in the future. But yeah, I mean, all the stuff in the background is just like random things. I mean, I've listed most of it out. Some of them I did not buy on Amazon, etc. So, you can't get everything. I got like these vases on Kijiji/Facebook Marketplace. And then I've also got like a little hidden scent sprayer thing in the background, because, having a good smell in the office all day is ideal. Because if you haven't realized by now, this is my bedroom. And I'll show some shots at some point throughout this that will make that obvious, but this is in fact just my bedroom. And my bed is like right there, right beside me, and then I've got my balcony, and then down the hall is my I don't know if you call it a hall really, but just slightly over there is the bathroom and stuff. But yeah, so I've just sort of transformed my room and dedicated it to be the studio. Some people say it's not the best to work where you sleep and stuff, because then work and personal life just merge together. But that has always been the case for me. I'm always kind of working, kind of available to not be working at any time, but I try to be dedicating as much time as I can to work. That is pretty much everything in terms of the like physical products. I've already mentioned products that I used to have and upgraded from. In terms of software, before I dive into the actual specs of the computer, I use OBS Studio for streaming. It's free, so there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't use it. Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing, Adobe Photoshop for graphic design, thumbnails, etc., and Adobe Audition for cleaning up audio, both real-time and in post, meaning that I've got Adobe Audition running right now. As I talk to this, it goes through, it runs through there, cleans it all up, and then it goes to OBS clean. And then if I want to run it again, I can, add more effects, etc., etc. And then you can use Adobe Audition effects in Premiere Pro as well. Highly, highly recommend. I just pay for the suite of all the Adobe stuff, but those three are the most important, and I highly, highly recommend them. In terms of like cutting people out of backgrounds or like yourself for thumbnails, what was the name of that? Mask AI was super, super useful, but I could not find a way to purchase it, and thus after the trial ended, I was not able to use it anymore. So I found Topaz Mask AI. It's $100 for a lifetime membership, but it's been so useful for easily cutting people out of backgrounds, especially myself, when I want to just take a shot of me from one of these videos and then just use it as the thumbnail. Makes your life really easy, easily worth the $100. Again, I rationalize all these purchasing decisions as to how much time I'll save. So $100 is nothing for the amount of time that I'll save working on these thumbnails, or just not willing to even make the thumbnails because of the amount of time that I would spend, and it wouldn't look as good. So an easy purchase there. Handbrake is free. It's very good for compressing video before you upload it to the internet, and so you don't have to wait a million hours for it to upload. And then Storyblocks is what I use for licensed music, stock photography, footage, animations, all that kind of stuff. Very, very useful. It's definitely not cheap, so I don't use it all the time, but it's definitely worth taking a look at and using because they've got so much available, and the licenses are forever, so you just need to pay for it the one time, download and use what you use, and then you've got that. So highly, highly recommend that as well. And for none of these am I affiliated with or get kickbacks, and none of these are referral links or anything like that. Again, all of this is just exactly what it is, and I'm just sharing it with you because I actually use it, and I found it very beneficial to use. My computer specs. So for people who are interested in the actual, all the components that make up my computer, I built my computer. I built the previous computer I own. So, having a built computer is very, very useful. Better so, in my opinion, than buying a laptop that you can barely upgrade in the future. This allows you to future-proof and upgrade things as you need to. So I really appreciate that. And I have been upgrading it as I needed to. So what my computer is made up of is I've got one Samsung 2TB 870 QVO SSD, and then I've got the same thing, but 1 terabyte. The 2 terabytes is where I have most of my stuff, and then the 1 terabyte is my cloud storage sync. And then I've got a 4 terabyte HDD Kingston hard drive where it just houses all of my like media and all the footage and everything. Once I'm done using it, I put it into that as my like large capacity cold storage, more or less. And then once that fills up, I take it out, put it in the safe, swap it out for a new one, and just keep rolling. I've got two 16 gigabyte sticks of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro DDR4 RAM. It's a mouthful. And then two 8 gig sticks of G-Skill Ripjaws DDR4 RAM. And together, that is 48 gigs of RAM. Definitely worth it. I've had a great time using it, and I mean, you don't need to max out the full 64, but 48 has been fantastic. It's more than what I really need, honestly. I was doing 32 for a while, but I did notice a nice upgrade there. The biggest upgrade in the last little while has been switching from HDD to SD, because everything loads so much faster. Gaming. The biggest thing was for video editing. My videos were lagging. They were like choppy. It was very hard to actually watch things on Premiere Pro when I was editing. But then when I switched to SSD and I put everything on the same drive, plus I have a scratch drive, made a huge difference. I guess I forgot to include, I do have a 250 gigabyte SSD that is just used for a scratch drive, which essentially is, if you're using Photoshop and it needs just like to use a bunch of like storage for all the temporary files and everything you got going on, you can have a hard drive, or in this case, an SSD, that is purely dedicated to that. And that will allow it to go the fastest when you are actually needing the scratch drive. So again, that makes my editing, both for video and graphic design, way faster and easier. So that's also really important to include. My power supply is 550 watts. It's EVGA Supernova. I've got a Carbide Series mid-tower gaming case, a lot of generic stuff, bunch of generic fans, heatsink, all that stuff. My GPU, my graphics card, is an EVGA GeForce GTX 970X. It's 4 gigs. I would love to get an 8 gig video card so I could do way faster rendering and editing. But most of them are like $2,000 right now, which I'm not even opposed to paying. It's just that even with them being $2,000, they're impossible to find. And I'm not trying to pay $2,000 for someone on eBay or, Kijiji or whatever. That's not an ideal situation. I'd rather just get a proper new one with warranty, etc. So I'll be waiting for that. My motherboard is an Asus TUF Z370 Pro gaming motherboard. A little dated, but it does the job. And I've got an also fairly dated Intel Core i7 8700K. So that's the 8th gen series. 3.7 gigahertz. It's pretty good. The reason that I have that is I previously had an i5 and then it kind of it crapped out after several years, and then I upgraded to this. I hope to upgrade to something better when I decide to also get the better graphics card. But then I'll obviously need a new motherboard, and I want to also upgrade my power supply to support all of that. But aside from that, that is everything. I'm running Windows 10 64-bit OS in case anyone wants to hack me. And then I've already mentioned the monitors that I'm using in front of me. That is pretty much everything, you guys. I think we've done it. I think we've covered everything. Now, it really just comes down to, will I be able to cut all of the footage that I've taken into a very interesting looking video and do some sort of like MTV Cribs-esque style thing? I have no idea, but hopefully you guys appreciated this. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm trying to think of if there's anything that I like missed or wanted to touch on. If you're curious, the reason that I have these ridiculous speakers and this microphone and this audio interface and all this stuff, you might be wondering, why did I go so intense on the audio? I used to make music. I still make music. I make music, but I was really into it when I started. So much so, in fact, that when I was in university, I applied for a music grant and I wrote a song, performed the song, produced it, did it, and I won, surprisingly enough. And because I won, because that's the only way to get any money in Canada for music is through government grants. And so I won. And it was about $3,000, I think, which was somewhat of a big deal because all my money was just going to schooling and I didn't have a job at the time and I was broke. So that it's pretty meaningful. But I was true to my word. And I'm pretty sure I had to prove that I spent it on music. So I went and I bought really nice like speaker monitors and the headphones and the microphone and everything. So huge upgrade for me. I was using just like completely garbage stuff and I was surprised that they even liked the song. But yeah, so I went that route for audio, and then many years later, I just decided to start my YouTube channel. And as I mentioned before, originally I was using the Blue Yeti because I was just dedicating this to my music, and I had it over in my my closet, the walk-in closet that I'd fully soundproofed and had it all set up. But I've really pulled back and I just don't care enough, and I just record everything here, whether it's music or these videos. And and I just kind of pivoted from there. So it's been several years since I originally got into music, and I still put music out, but I'm not really ready to share that with this audience yet because I don't know if you guys are ready for it yet. Yeah, we'll see. When I officially retire from my day job, I think is a good time for me to merge those two personalities so you guys can kind of see both sides. But for now, they're very separate. If you're super keen, you could PM me or DM me or whatever on Twitter or wherever, and I'll probably just send you something if you're interested, but I'm not really just like putting it out for everyone to see right now. Though, I mean, you could find this stuff. I'm on Spotify, I'm verified, like I'm on every single platform in existence. My music is out there. I have hundreds of songs. So you could find it. It's all out there. It's all public. I'm just not merging the personalities of both yet. Anyways, I think that is everything. I have so much here that I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. But yeah, I mean, again, this is as comprehensive as I could possibly be for you guys. I feel like this has come such a long way. I'll show like a little quick excerpt from one of the first videos I did when I moved in here, and the back looked awful, and I was using a webcam and the lighting was terrible, and so much has changed, right? Like the audio has gone better, and just so much has improved, and I'm always happy to keep pushing to improve, keep finding new ways to just make sure I'm not like plateauing and being stagnant. I'm always trying to get a little bit better, whether it's for you guys or it's just for my own feeling of progression. I'm at 446 episodes. Mind you, I've deleted and privated a bunch, so it's probably over 500 by now. But thank you so much for following this journey. I really appreciate it, especially if you guys sat around this long just listening to me yap about the random gear that I use and why I use it and all these different things. So if there is any other questions that you do have about the studio or the gear I use or the software or really anything that you can think of related to what I'm doing over here, leave it in the comments below. I'll definitely make sure to get to it. Or if there's like a lot of questions or whatever, I'll cover that in a future episode or whatever it happens to be. But thank you for watching this whole thing. Again, let me know, is there something that I missed perhaps? Like as a content creator yourself, or maybe you've gone to school for videography or whatever. Is there something that I'm missing? Or is there something that I've done too much of or whatever? Let me know. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on using a green screen? Because again, I'm pretty against it. I would say a lot of the personality and knickknacks and things in the background are kind of inspired from like a Joe Rogan-esque podcast where he just kind of had all this stuff on his table, but it showed his personality. And I really liked that. And that's kind of what I more so went for. But yeah, let me know, like, what do you guys think of the background? What do you guys think of the studio? What do you think of the improvements that have been made over time? Do you like this podcast / show? What are your thoughts? What crypto are you investing lately? I know, normally this is about crypto and there's been a lot going on, but I'm just, kind of focusing on the work and getting things done. And, the crypto will work itself out over the next couple of months. I'm still very bullish for October, but let me know what you guys are doing with your crypto. And if you did watch to the very end, make sure to comment #1ham. I do try to tip people who do that with 1 LBC at least on library anyways /Odyssey. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, cheers.